Hello everybody and welcome back to the Chassis Variant Series. Myself, Critical Rocket, and we're back with the champion, this one being the 2N. The champion 2N was the Succession Wars variant when the Star League technology had basically run out or was now being heavily protected by the successor state armies. The champion continued to be produced, but now with lower tech Succession Warrior equipment. So that meant the LB-10 was dropped in favour of an AC-10. The SRM-6 lost its Artemis, and the developer of that switched to a different brand, but essentially still the same weapon. And the mediums and the smalls remained. The other losses were things like ferrofibrous armour and double heat sinks, although, to be fair, the original Champion 1N didn't come standard with doubles, that was the 1N2, as a field refit. So, essentially, the 2N manages to keep its speed at the cost of some of the lost tech that was making it a little more effective. However, the mech essentially remains the same combatant as it once was. The minor changes here and there didn't really impact it too badly. However, champion production had started to drop off considerably at this point, and they were nowhere near as numerous as they once were. So many manufacturers had switched to making more cheaper battle mechs. Things like the Locust, for instance, of Bergen Industries would have increased their production of that mech compared to this, because this mech used a pretty large engine as a 300 standard, would have been very expensive to produce, and in the period where brawling became much more common within the successor state armies, especially in the first, second and later third Succession Wars, big engines like that weren't as necessary as heavies that could take a punch were far more important to the successor state armies. A few champions do still remain. As I mentioned in the Lore Warrior, they are still guarded by certain houses, Steiner and Lau in particular being two that have the most out of the remaining number. So it's not like they completely vanished, it's just that they had difficulties in keeping the numbers up, and any that were still intact were generally scrapped once they got past a certain amount of damage or losing a certain amount of equipment. So in MechWarrior Online terms, this isn't a huge departure from how the 1M plays anyway. It comes with 4 energy hardpoints again, alongside a single missile hardpoint and 3 ballistics. All of the ballistics are in the right torso, whereas 2 of your energies in the CT, 2 of your energies in the left torso, and your 1 missile is also in the left torso. This means you have a particular emphasis on your right side, and is probably the side you'll want to protect the most, as it will be the side that you've probably got your best punch in, if you decide to go with something like Rack 2s or standard ACs, that kind of thing. However, XL engines I wouldn't recommend, actually. Playing this mech a bit more, especially for recording this series, I found that the left torso and the right torso do actually take quite a lot of damage. Although you can put on a generous amount of armour for them, they will eventually get stripped, and part of the reason for that is just because the mech is so goddamn wide. With the arms sticking out basically just being shields outside of the 3N, you may as well just leave the armour as is, or strip all the armour off the arms, and then just redistribute that around the torsos and the legs. Although I've yet to be legged in a champion, no one's specifically gone after the legs. As I said, the side torsos are key, so I wouldn't actually recommend XL engines. Light fusion will probably work out a bit better for you, depending on how you want to work, but keep in mind, since all your weapons are in your torsos, light fusions are going to take up a lot of the space there. So it's a bit of a tough one, I think, with building champions. I think they work better if you can have one solid weapon in the ballistics slot and then having some powerful backup energy, like basically pulse lasers. The other thing is I'd actually keep the speed of the champion there. I wouldn't mess with the engine too much. Slowing the mech down isn't a good idea. As I said, it's if you bring it down to the speed of some of the heavier heavies out there, such as the 75 and 70 tonners, it's just a sitting duck. It's going to die very quickly. I skilled this one out with all the speed tweaks, and you can get it up to 87 kph, and that's with just the standard 300. If you decide to go to a higher engine, you can get up to 90 plus kph, which makes this mech particularly nasty and very fast. So if you've got the right build there, keep it simple, and I think it would work out for you. As I said, I'm not saying that the Champion's a bad mech by any stretch, it's just one that needs a very particular approach in its use that I found. It's a great support mech, it works well running alongside assaults, it works well running alongside heavies, it can even assist some mediums in the push, and if you've got the speed tweak unlocked on there for it, it will also work quite well in matches like Domination and Conquest, and being able to quickly move between points or repositioning to get different shots on, especially slower assault mechs. The 2N stock, by the way, takes a long time to overheat. You can basically alpha strike all of its weapons and not have to worry too much about heat build-up for quite a while. And the thing that will actually push your heat up will be the SRM6 and the AC-10 because they fire so regularly. The lasers, the heat dissipates very quickly. Plus, the different ranges, once you get within close range, the different recycle rates means you're pretty much firing something every second and a half, at least. So you're always basically pumping out damage on a target, and you can overwhelm some players who have a very focused setup. If, say, they've only got SRMs, they do have a good punch, but you have a very, very, very regular DPS, which can wear them down very quickly. So, default builds aren't too bad in the champion either. I'd recommend the 2N. I had a lot of trouble getting footage for this one because there was just some really bad matches, but I was happy with this one in the end, and I hope you are too. So, hope you have a good week. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye!